Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Odd Job Entertainment bringing you another video, and this was going to be a video about how I think DICE should plan on monetizing in future releases, but as I sat down to write this, it expanded into changes I'd like to see in the next release cycle of FPS games. And I had to trim it down. I've got a lot of ideas here, but I don't want to get it too long in the tooth. So there's some pretty critical ways in which companies have strayed from the path, and I want to address some of them in this video. And if this does well, we'll make a part 2. Kicking this off, let's talk about battle passes. I'm old enough to remember when companies would sell map packs as a way to monetize their game after release. This would create massive schisms between those that had the maps and those that didn't. I generally paid for any map pack that came up for my games, but I didn't get to play them nearly as often as I thought I would putting in my dad's credit card info. Because once I had a map pack that my friends didn't, I had to choose between playing with friends or seeing new pixels. If I could go back, I would tell young Oddjob to save his pennies for other things. I don't think anyone would advocate for bringing back the paid map packs. After map packs, we started to see microtransactions, and it seems everyone was selling loot boxes. Thankfully, these were short-lived and are not nearly so common today. Looking at you, Battlefront 2. Around the same time, though, we started to see battle passes. These won out in a big way as the primary mechanism that games use to make money after release. But that term, microtransaction, is interesting. Micro compared to what? Well, compared to the price of a full retail game. But also compared to those map packs and DLC packs from yesteryear. Instead of paying $15 for DLC, now you could pay $1 for a skin, cool weapon, or anything else. But take a look at microtransactions today, and it's a different story. Halo Infinite has taken a lot of heat for this, but they are far and away not the only ones, nor are they the worst offenders today. Odd job from the future here. I checked prices of Halo Infinite store items as I was collecting footage for this video, and from a cursory glance, they've really increased the value of their offerings. Compared to the last time that I was seriously playing Halo, it's a night and day difference. Let me know down below if that's been your experience as well. I can look at Modern Warfare 2 today, and they have numerous offerings in the $30 range. The Battle Pass, if I had paid real money for it, would be $11. But clearly they want you to actually get the Black Cell upgrade for $30. So for a single Battle Pass season, you could spend a base price of $41 before buying any additional skins or operators. That feels pretty macro for a microtransaction. Just think of all the games you could get for $40. But battle passes have a much more obvious problem in the form of FOMO marketing. I've really come to terms with this recently because, as I mentioned in my last video, I used my saved coins for the most recent COD Battle Pass. So in spite of my other games getting cool updates that I want to try out, Star Citizen included, I felt stuck grinding the COD Battle Pass in the interest of getting my money's worth. This is a problem that Halo Infinite pretty much solved. For as much flack as they've taken for many strange decisions, and myself included in that, the best one was eliminating any time constraint on their battle passes. I can hop on today and buy up any battle pass that I missed out on and catch up, so to speak. Now, the obvious downside to this model, and the reason why I don't have all the passes, is that if the content is not compelling, there's little holding me to the seat. So I understand why companies would be reluctant to try the same thing. But in a perfect world, these AAA companies would take that as a challenge. If you deliver on your promises and provide the experience people are looking for, you're not going to struggle to keep your player base engaged. The microtransactions and battle passes will sell themselves at that point. And it's not hard to make a great game if you've got a good formula. There is a reason COD sells like it does every year. And as much as people complain that each game is just the same thing in a different skin, which is pretty much true, that's what many people want. The COD formula is simple. Generally smaller map design, focused on 6v6 combat, fast TTK, and a military aesthetic. I said a military aesthetic. We'll get to that in a minute. Battlefield likewise had a formula. Both games strayed a bit far from their formulas, but Battlefield 2042 definitely took the larger L here. When I get into a Battlefield game, I want large-scale combat with mixed infantry and vehicles. In many ways, Battlefield positions itself as the Call of Duty for adults. Now, before anyone gets upset, that's not a dig at COD. I play both of them. But in Battlefield, you have larger ranges, and so the gunplay gets more complicated. You can actually take shots long enough where bullet travel time and drop are critical metrics in calculating your aim. Sure, COD has ground war and invasion, but it's not really the same. Battlefield also has an intricate squad interplay where no single player can do everything. Run out of ammo? Find a support player. Need an insertion point? Use your squad members, or better yet, a recon beacon. Vehicle took some damage? Find an engineer. Low health? Find an assault player. The way these classes worked in previous titles meant that you needed to rely on your team to perform well. But what happens when a game strays too far? When it fails to deliver that experience you came for? It gets replaced. Battlefield is a great example of this because people aren't playing it. They're playing BattleBit instead. And BattleBit needs no introduction at this point. I'm sure you've all seen it blowing up in your recommendations. But what is it about this game developed by 3 people that has it dwarfing Battlefield right now? Well, it sticks to the formula. See, when Battlefield 2042 came out, they really tried to shake things up to attract new players. They increased the server cap from 64 to 128 because more players is more better, right? But maybe you should test your servers before you do that? And they added specialists in an effort to cash in on the money operators bring in for Warzone. They added the new plus customization menu for weapons. Now specialists can use any gun regardless of their class type. At release, you could equip a med pack and an ammo crate, and no one saw any issues with that? All of these changes took Battlefield away from what made it great to begin with. The increase in server population meant that maps were designed to have massive bodies running across at all times, which equates to long distances with little cover. The hit registration for bullets was non-existent if too much was happening on screen. This in spite of having research to support that 64 players was the max needed for a good large-scale experience. And the specialist system throughout all the squad interplay that Battlefield was known for. Now you could perch on the edge of the map with your medpack, ammo crate, and sniper rifle for the entire match, where at least in previous titles you'd have to resupply somehow. But those specialists were also half-baked, because instead of having 2 teams of specialists as is in the case of Call of Duty, both teams share character models. So you've got grandma versus grandma all the time. And the plus system of customization is actually a downgrade from the customization in previous titles. There's fewer attachments available and fewer combinations possible. The reason BattleBit is doing so well is it is a return to the classic Battlefield formula. Now obviously there is a plethora of differences between these 2 games, but the reason why BattleBit is doing so well right now is it brings back so many of the things that are missing in modern games that really should never have disappeared. And it's offering a better Battlefield experience than Battlefield is today. And on screen, you'll see some gameplay of me playing BattleBit. This is from my first match. Please don't judge me too harshly. I never claimed to be good. I just claimed to enjoy Battlefield, and I had a decent time playing BattleBit, even though I did terribly in this match. Players don't really want Levolution, behemoths, or gimmicks like that. They want squad gameplay, destructible environments, and everything else that was sacred to the battlefields of yesterday. And at this point in the video, I'm going to transition to talk about how we can fix this for the next release. I'm going to speak broadly about what I want to see in the next FPS with a slant toward Battlefield, since I want to see a good Battlefield title again. But many of these things will apply to FPS titles in general. Starting with weapon customization. Halo has cosmetic-only customization, COD has the middle ground for customization with 5 attachments possible, and Tarkov has straight-up gunsmithing. Like, you could get a degree in Tarkovology. So on a scale of Halo to Tarkov, I want to see something simpler than Tarkov, but with more depth than Call of Duty. Give me live detailed stats on screen so I can see exactly how my choices affect the gun. No nebulous pictograms and bar charts without any numbers. Give me the raw data. I want to apply as many attachments as possible without interfering with each other. So if I want to make a sniper with a 12x scope, rangefinder, heavy stock and barrel, straight pull bolts, silencer, and a bipod, let me do that. Or if I'm building out an assault rifle and I want to kit an M4 with a compensator, extended mag, hybrid sight, laser, short barrel, and a foregrip, let me do that too. Or what if I want to make a revolver with a stock, super long barrel, longer suppressor, 20x scope, and a bayonet? Let me do that. Back in the day, engines weren't powerful enough to do all this, but that's not an excuse today. Let me make the cursed builds of my nightmares. And on a side note, keeping in the customization side of things, I personally don't like all the crazy operator skins in Call of Duty. I would love to have a toggle to get rid of other players' weird anime senpai guns and glowing lightning Power Ranger stuff. I know they're not going to add that because every skin is a walking advertisement, but one can dream, right? Regardless, we can learn a few lessons from recent titles when it comes to character customization and monetization, particularly with Halo Infinite. For several games now, customizing your Spartan has been the primary method of expression in Halo titles. We used to have primary, secondary, and accent colors. But with Halo Infinite, that was all scrapped in favor of coatings? This caught a lot of flack for being a gross downgrade of previous systems to allow less player choice and force players to pay for colors that would have come by default in other games. But I don't think the idea is a total waste. If players retain the ability to customize with a base palette included in the game, 343 could have charged for fancy colors or exclusive colors. For instance, if I want to have a blue and orange Spartan with gold accents, maybe the flashy gold would be an earnable color or purchasable color. I think there's a solid argument for having both types of acquisition. Of course, you could also have things like carbon fiber or diamond or animated colors. And Halo 4 had a system where you could apply these colors in different patterns, and Halo 5 kind of kept the same thing, but they had it in this weird loot box hell. If we had something like what Halo 4 had, that would be great too. Switch the positions of your primary, secondary, and accent colors, and all of that could be monetized as long as you have a decent base palette to start with. If we take this same idea and apply it to a game more like Battlefield, this would probably take the form of different camos. Maybe all the basic military camos are included, but if you want a particular spec op look, that might need to be purchased. Likewise, just as Halo Infinite has charms and decorations for the armor, those could also be monetizable in Battlefield. All of this could work. You could have different elbow pads, chest rigs, plate carriers, pants, shirts, hats, helmets, etc. There is just one important detail. Classes must be distinguishable. If we go back to Battlefield 3, you knew exactly what class of player you were looking at with just a glance. Engineers wore caps, recons wore balaclavas, support players had dump trucks and lots of ammo wrapped around them, and assault players, they had sunglasses. Or they were black if you played on the US team. So Battlefield could have a ton of customization, but certain items do need to be class specific to enhance identification. I don't care if assault players have 100 different kinds of helmets, as long as they always have a helmet. Likewise, if Battlefield wants to have a bunch of specialists, they can, but split them into 2 teams. This really just doubles the opportunities to make sales, so I have no idea why this wasn't done to begin with. A game that does this stuff pretty well is Insurgency Sandstorm. Lots of customization that could be almost copy and pasted into Battlefield with just a few tweaks as aforementioned. More things that can be monetized, obviously weapon skins, camos, anything cosmetic so long as it does not affect any stats. And I know monetization is kind of a sore subject for a lot of gamers. In a lot of games it's pushed way too heavily and it becomes kind of stifling. But it's important to talk about monetization as gamers because the companies do need to make money. In theory, if we want good games, we need to make it possible financially for them to make said games. But that also means that we have an obligation to not support predatory practices and to pick with our dollars what kind of monetization is okay. So here I'm outlining what I'm okay with, and I'm making a commitment to stand by this. Granted, I've not been the best prior to now, and don't want to give people a peek at my hangar in Star Citizen because that would make me seem kind of hypocritical. But from here on, things are going to be different. Speaking of different, have you noticed how lonely gaming feels without pre- and post-game lobbies? I remember learning all the most important curse words and pejoratives in those lobbies. It would get heated, sure. One time a grown man sent me and my friend a picture of a brown starfish because you could get away with it. We were like 12 at the time. So it wasn't perfect. I'm not so nostalgic about the old internet that I want things to be exactly that way. There should definitely be protections in place for players, especially given how many minors we have that play these games in spite of the 17 plus rated M markings. Let's be honest, we all started playing when we were like 10, and we know that that's still going on because you hear a pipsqueak voice come over the radio and they're talking about your mom. So it's important to have protections in place to prevent things from going too far. But cutting the lobbies entirely is a gross overcorrection. At the same time, the developers that claim that this is the reason also feel a bit disingenuous when they make that kind of statement. Because putting it bluntly, this feels more like it's about SBMM and reshuffling the player deck than it does about any kind of protections. In that term, SBMM probably causes some people's blood pressure to rise. I can reliably predict a loss based on how well I did in the previous game. If I go positive in COD, I'm probably losing the next match. Halo did it right back in the day. You split ranked and social. You balance teams after picking your lot randomly and adjust to the next game if needed, but the odds that you could build a rivalry by sticking it through match to match was much higher. Now it feels like studios want to keep us isolated. We're like little game addicts stuck in our pod like the Matrix. And it's not like this is a new concept. Like I said, Halo did this, but so did pretty much every other title. So why with this sudden push with SBMM that is stifling our communities? So let's bring some things back. Kick out SBMM to only ranked modes, bring back pre and post game lobbies, launch your game with scoreboards included, server routers, etc. Players will stick around where they feel belonging. By cutting these social features out of games, you're killing the sense of community. Focus on creating a good game first, and then you're not going to have to worry about the money rolling in. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty recently, and I've been playing it like it's a job, trying to finish this battle pass as quickly as possible so I can get back to other games that I enjoy. FOMO marketing and getting rid of these social features and putting such a heavy emphasis on monetization first without fixing your gameplay is a perfect way to ruin your title. Bring back some classic customization and build on systems that we had before instead of stripping them down to barely nothing. And like I said at the outset of this video, I've got a lot more ideas that I think could be put into future videos, but let me know if that's something you want to see. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the video, and we are doing a giveaway courtesy of Monster Tech. If you want a chance to win a set of chair or desk mounts, all you have to do is like and subscribe to my channel and comment on any of my videos during the giveaway period with that video's corresponding secret word. A winner will be drawn once we have reached the subscriber goal of 1,000. And guys, we're over 60% of the way there. It could literally be like 2 or 3 more videos before we're doing a giveaway. All we need is for a couple of them to take off like they have in the past. And Monster Tech is a brand I'm sure it has become a household name for many of us sim pilots. They make fantastic products. There is no way to talk about building out a sim without mentioning Monster Tech products. They build anything and everything you could think of, and if you think of something that they don't have, like I happen to with the mounts that I have on my chair, they're happy to build it to you. And they have a great set of prices. I was pretty surprised by how cheap it ended up being. Yes, it's custom work. Yes, it's going to be a little expensive, but it was still pretty good, and you really have to hand that to them. I've been really happy to have them as a sponsor, and I'm really happy to be able to share this giveaway with you. Also, if you want to get 5% off your order at Monster Tech, all you have to use is code ODDJOB at checkout. As for this video's secret word, let's have a conversation down below. What feature do you miss from FPS titles that existed before that needs to come back? Other than that, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and until next time, this is OddJob Entertainment, signing off.